Peace. What's good, guys? How's it going? Let's talk about and discuss NXT for January the 3rd, 2023. This was a solid and fun episode of NXT. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. And we're off to a good start for the year, for the new year for NXT. And I do think that NXT, as the months go on and the year progresses, is going to give us a solid, fun product. I really do believe that. So last Thursday, Dragon Lee, he signed with the WWE. So that's cool. We should be seeing some vignettes from him in the coming weeks. I do like that get. That was very wise of them to get Dragon Lee. This fucking rules. So there aren't any mega free agents out on the free agent market anymore like there were last year or even back in 2020. Or even in 2021 for that matter. But I think what Triple H will probably end up doing is probably just start pulling people from Impact, MLW, AAA. He'll try to get a couple of guys in New Japan as well. Probably go that route for a while. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Jordan Grayson in NXT in due time. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Deonna Purrazzo as well, and Nick Aldis and Mickie James. So I do think that Triple H will probably snatch up those four individuals before the summer. I look to see Mickie James and Nick Aldis probably in the Royal Rumble. And maybe Deonna Purrazzo, maybe around WrestleMania or after WrestleMania, so something like that. Same thing with Jordan Grace. I don't see her staying. I don't see them staying in Impact. Those three individuals, those three women. So it's pretty good. And it does seem that the NXT is becoming what it once was, and that's being a work rate promotion. It doesn't need to happen like that, in my opinion. I think they need to do a mix up of work rate and character development. Those are the two things that they need to focus on instead of just trying to just be a work rate promotion. You can't do that anymore since AEW's been out on the market for 3 years. But that's just me. All right, so enough of me rambling on about stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the review. So we kicked the show off with Carmelo Hayes versus Apollo Crews. This was a very solid and fun match. Trick Williams got involved. He pulled out Carmelo in certain spots. Towards the end, Carmelo, he wins via the Flying Famouser for the 1-2-3. Not Apollo, but Carmelo needs to change his finisher ASAP. Like, that's going to fuck him up later on in life. That's going to destroy his ass. Literally, it is. Like, don't do that shit. He needs to do something maybe like either like maybe a neck breaker or something like that. You know, just a different finisher. Just come up with something different, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Post-match, Apollo is beaten down by both Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. But Axiom comes in, he makes a save, he does a moonsault, takes out Melo and Trick Williams. That leads us into the second match, Trick Williams versus Axiom. Axiom wins. So, you know, it is what it is. And Trick, he had on a Trick and Ain't Easy. So that was kind of funny right there. So I do like that. So Axiom wins via the golden ratio. That's fine. I figured he was going to win anyway. They've always booked Trick Williams as, 50-50 booking. They did that to him for a while. But it is what it is. And then post-match, both Williams and Hayes attempt to beat down Axiom, but Apollo makes the save. No, my bad. Axiom. Apollo makes the save. My bad. Apollo makes the save. So I would imagine probably next week they might do or if not next week, the week after next, they'll probably end up doing like a tag match between the two, possibly. So Mello and Williams versus Apollo and Axiom. Okay, so moving on. The New Day, they're backstage, so they're giving more chores for Pretty Deadly to do, which is fine, I guess. So Schism, they come into play, they walk up. So Fowler, he says that the New Day has talked to every other NXT tag team but the Schism because they realize Schism is their biggest threat. Xavier Woods says they look like Chainsaw Massacre extras. Kingston, he insults them, and he has words with Joe Gacy. So Joe Gacy says Biggie and Woods have leaned on Kofi. Kofi, he shoots down this idea. Gacy says they're a real family, unlike the New Day. Kofi thought that his issue was with Fowler, but apparently it's with Joe Gacy. And he says he's going to solve that tonight. So Gacy says taking out a former WWE champion and the greatest tag team of all time will only make the Schism grow stronger. And the Schism and the New Day, they dip out. So I'm fine with that, I guess. Next, we had a segment that I wanted to gouge my eyes out. And yes, we're going to talk about Dijak. Get the fuck off my TV. So, Dijak, apparently, he apparently abducted Stacks from last week. So we see a segment with them. It's like 2 a.m, last Wednesday. We see this. And so he basically has Stacks hostage somewhere. So Dijak punches Stacks in the ribs, and he's messing with a tape recorder for whatever reason, a tape player. He presses play, and he begins to question Stacks' loyalty to Tony D. But he says loyalty has consequences, and disrespecting Dijak won't go unpunished. Dijak goes on with his promo to Stacks. He declares that he's the face of fear in NXT. So he grabs Stacks' face and hits him in the ribs, like I said before. Stacks tells Dijak to be a man and uncuff him so they can handle it in the ring. Dijak, he takes the tape off and places the handcuff on the table, and then he walks out. So I'm like, what the fuck was that all about? It sets up for the third match, Dijak versus Stacks. Dijak wins, who gives a fuck. Post-match, Dijak attempts to beat down Stacks, but Tony D comes in, makes the save. Tony D then gets on the mic and says that Stacks has more heart than Dijak does, than Dijak wishes he had. Tony challenges Dijak to face him and to find out about street justice at New Year's Evil. And then Dijak, he agrees. So, okay, I'm fine with that, I guess. So Wesley, my bad. Mackenzie Mitchell, she's backstage with Oro Mensah. And she asked about 2022 and what to expect in 2023 for Oro Mensah. Mensah says he got his feet wet in 2022. He's diving headfirst this year. And that starts with a win tonight. So Javier Bernal, my boy, our homeboy, he comes in and says 2023 will be the year of Big Body Javi. And he says, what better way to kick it off than his own Christmas album? So Mackenzie points out that Christmas is over. It was like 2 weeks ago. And also says anyone can release a Christmas album during Christmas, but he's Big Body Javi. Mensah says that this is kind of cringe, but when he's done with Bernal tonight, he won't be singing. He won't have a singing voice any longer. And then Menza then says he'll see Javi out there. So that was a pretty fun little segment. They need to do something with Oro Mensah. He's too much like Wesley, in my opinion. They have to kind of repackage him. That's just me. Moving on. Okay, next we had a bizarre, crazy segment involving the women. And I mean, this thing just broke down quick. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? It was way too much shit going on. And I didn't like it. I really didn't. So basically, Toxic Attraction, they come out. Gigi and JC, they come out. And they said that it's 2023. They're going to leave 2022 in the past. They said all eyes are on them. Others are going to watch in remorse as they push the envelope even further than they did in the last 18 months. They're going to cut through the roster with reckless abandonment. JC says that they're now bonded by battle scars and that they're the ones, and that they'll be the one to call out the shots moving forward. They don't do any resolutions. They do revenge. So they say that the whole world will watch their moves, but they will only watch one woman. That being Roxanne Perez. That's their new target. And they said that Perez may want to take down their toxic empire, but they're going to build it back, brick by brick, and use her broken body as the foundation. I thought that was a fucking great line right there by Gigi. That was fucking great. I'm like, oh shit. Then this is when it started to break down. So Indy Hartwell, she comes out. She says her stuff about Perez and how she wants to win the title. Corday does the same thing. Then Nikita Lyons does the same thing. Zoe Stark does the same thing. And then Thea Hale, for whatever reason, she comes from the crowd and she screams out girl fight, and everyone starts to brawl. Like, everybody brawls. And then Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn, they come to the ring, they brawl as well. So Sol Ruka and Last Legend, they're all in the mix as well. Alexa Lopez. It's a huge brawl that breaks out. And then Roxanne Perez, she comes out and says that stop fighting, you don't have to do it anymore. Next week, it's going to be a 20-woman battle royal. The winner will face her at Vengeance Day, February 4th. And then they resume the fight. I didn't like that. It kind of fucking pissed me off. I don't know who's going to win here. I can't even really think of anyone who's going to win. Just in a simple heel fashion, if you're going to do face versus heel, which they should do, you would probably have Zoe Stark win because they're doing the whole work rate shit with her. So she's fine. She's a mid-level, nonsensical heel that it's not going to mess her up. Even if she loses, she can still be fine. But if I was booking it, I wouldn't mind seeing Sol Ruka win, because Sol Ruka has a great finisher. People actually dig her. And, people online have been clamoring her to kind of get a little push because, her move is so good. And, she's really being talked about. Like, people want them to pull the trigger on her. And I kind of do agree with that at times. But this whole 20-woman battle royal, not really interested into it. I'm just not into it. So then that led into Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn in the Extreme Revolution match. So they spent about 10 minutes in the back just brawling, beating the shit out of each other in the warehouse and everything else. The referees were like, no, stop. And they kept going. And then we finally go into the ring. And then while they're brawling on the outside, Fire is taken out by Dawn's taken out by the large X that was, the original NXT logo. And then, it was the the 2.0 one. So that was kind of cool. I like that little nod right there. So in the end, Alba Fyre, towards the end of the match, Isla Dawn's just sitting there. She looks up into the heavens, smiles, and then Alba Fyre does the Swanton Bomb. But I kid you not, the table does not fucking break. And I'm like, what in the actual fuck is going on? So Alba Fyre does the Glory Bomb to the table, and she wins that way. So I'm fine with it, but that made no sense. Alba Fyre's been doing this move for well over a year now. And for her not to be able to break a table with the Swanton Bomb, that is fucking weird to me. It just is. It's weird. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's just weird. But I'm guessing that the feud is going to essentially be over because the two of them are going to be involved in the Battle Royal next week. So I'm fine with that. But I do think that it's time for Alba Fyre to head on to the main roster. Not just her, but Indy Hartwell as well. You have to kind of get rid of those two moving forward. It actually would make the most sense, if we're being honest. SmackDown could use Alba Fyre. I think that would be a nice little feud with her and Charlotte. And you could also put Indy Hartwell on Raw. I think that would be kind of cool as well. But you've got to start, getting rid of some of these women who've been there for quite some time. I think that Alba Fyre would do well on the main roster. You could put her on Raw and she'd be fine. I mean, it wouldn't matter where you place her. Same with Indy Hartwell. It's the same for them. But I thought that women's segment was just kind of cringe. Okay, so moving on. So Mackenzie Mitchell, she's backstage with Grayson Waller. So he's confident about facing Bron next week after a long 10 days of being at home in Australia. So Mackenzie can't understand why he's so confident when Breakker wants to rip his face off. So Grayson goes on about outsmarting Bron and getting him in a vulnerable place and says he's going to finish the job tonight. So next week will be a cakewalk. Waller says Breakker may have that dog in him, but it doesn't make him immune to the Grayson Waller effect. So then he dips out. He does his little laugh and dips. Next, we have a really good video package hyping up the Creed brothers and Indus. Fucking amazing. So Indus, they go on about how they're being respected in high regard in India. But they said that nobody gives a shit about them in America. Not really, though, but we all know that's true. The Creed said that they'll be stepping on stones for no one. They're going to be stepping stones for nobody. Indus says that the Creeds were one of the best tag teams in 2022, but that won't be the case in 2023. And the Creeds should have listened to Ivy Nile. And they waited for the perfect moment to get the Creeds at 100%, so there could be no excuse from the Creeds when they beat them next week. The Creeds say if Indus wants respect, they're getting it next week. All they're getting next week is going to be body blows and power shots. Respect is earned, not given. The Creeds won't give them a single inch. And then Indus they promised a mauling next week. So that was fucking great. Really good shit right there. I am all for bringing the Creeds on the main roster as well as Pretty Deadly and Indus. Well, no, you can keep Indus down in NXT for a little bit, but we need Pretty Deadly and the Creeds on the main roster. The Usos just need fresh blood to face. They really, really do. They just need fucking fresh blood to face. Point blank, period. Moving on. Oro Mensah versus Javier Bernal. Oro Mensah wins. I have no idea why Javier Bernal should have won. They kind of need to repackage Oro Mensah again. The gimmick that he's playing is kind of okay, but I don't know, because he's kind of so small, if he's going to have much upside in the end. And to me, it seems like he's not going to have much of an upside. But I feel like Javier Bernal should have gone over. Javier Bernal has just been a job guy just to get TV time. And he has a really funny, comedic character that can kind of get over. So I don't know why he didn't win here, to kind of build that character up a little bit. But it is what it is. Moving on. Briggs and Jensen, they're backstage with Fallon Henley. So they talk about Henley winning the Battle Royal. Winning the bar fight last week. So they're fired up about 2023 being their year. Briggs and Jensen say that Henley will win the Battle Royal next week, then the title at Vengeance Day. Kiana James, she walks up, and Fallon Henley, she stands up. James tells her to relax. She's not here to fight her. James, for whatever reason, congratulates Fallon Henley on her big win last week and says that she beat her fair and square. And then Fallon Henley, Kiana James jokes that condos would look great in the, would look good on the bar property. But she's going to hold up her end of the bargain. James wishes Fallon Henley good luck and says she'll see her in the Battle Royal next week. And then Kiana looks at Jensen and tells him to text her later. And he says that he will. And Fallon Henley was like, she was asking Briggs, like, when did this all start? So I thought that was a pretty cool little segment. Kind of fun. It's kind of cool that the feud is still going to continue. We kind of all know this by now, which makes sense. This is not going to be a one-and-done thing. We all know that Kiana James is just bullshitting. And we could see a kind of a double turn. Well, not really a double turn, but where you kind of... She's trying to basically cause a wedge between Briggs and Jensen, kind of to split them up. And that would be kind of cool, in a sense, to kind of see where the loyalty of Briggs lies, where his loyalty lies, to see who he's down with. So, to see where Jensen is down with. So this should be interesting. So they'll probably have a little story woven in for this next week during the Battle Royal. And I do think that we'll see something like that, where maybe Jensen accidentally cost Fallon Henley the match or whatever. I mean, her spot in the Battle Royal, where, there could be like a real massive brawl between the two, and then they eliminate each other. Something like that probably is going to happen next week. Moving on. Excuse me, sorry about that. So, we have this anonymous Twitter account by someone at NXT. So they're filming somebody, KC Squared. So they talk to a doctor in the trainer's room. We see Twitter responses where they're called the person filming a creep, and wonder what kind of person films a private medical conversation. So that's kind of interesting, but I don't know why we would do the scripts gimmick. I don't know who this is really for. I don't know. But we don't need this. We really don't. I know people have been saying that this should be used for one of the MMA chicks that WWE signed last year, like early last year they signed. I'm guessing we can go with that, but I personally wouldn't. But we'll wait and see what happens, I guess. Moving on, so we got Drew Gulak taking on Andre Chase. So Gulak wins. He taps out Chase, kind of turning him heel. So we see Charlie Dempsey backstage. He's in a sling for whatever reason. And then as soon as the match is over with, Dempsey, he removes the sling, so they're kind of just playing up the fact that he really wasn't injured. So he throws it down, that being Dempsey. So, I mean, there's that. So, basically, Gulak, he locks in the hold again. The Dragon Sleeper hold on Andre Chase again. And so Hank is trying to get him off, and he does eventually let go. But it took him a while. So he has a weird celebration at ringside, starts slamming stuff and getting real excited. So I thought it was pretty cool. I do see him turning heel and kind of aligning himself with Dempsey next week. So I could see that happen, and hopefully it does, because having Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak as a tag team, that could fucking kick major ass, man. That could be a really solid team right there. And we know that, we all know that Drew Gulak has done this before on the Indies. He did it in Evolve. I forgot what team he did it with. I mean, what faction he had back then. But he did it in his Evolve days, and him working alongside Charlie Dempsey is fucking great, or could be fucking great if it's done right. And hopefully next week we do see the inevitable heel turn of Drew Gulak. I think that would be tremendous. Him and Charlie Dempsey together as a team, that would be phenomenal. I mean, I can see it now. Like, sign me up. Okay, Wes Lee, he's backstage with Mackenzie Mitchell, and so she said that he retained his championship to close out the year, but it seems like both Dijak and Tony D aren't going anywhere. Lee agrees with her, says that he'll join the announcers for commentary next week. Oh my God. For D'Angelo versus Dijak. He's going to bring some popcorn. And Lee indicates that he's going to challenge the winner, whoever wins. And Lee walks out after he wishes a Happy New Year's to Mackenzie. And, that's kind of cool. And we all know that the two have known each other for well over like 4 or 5 years, with them being an Impact. Because Mackenzie Mitchell, she was the interviewer in Impact, I think from maybe 2013 to maybe 2018 or whatever. Maybe 2019. So, yeah. Next, the main event. Kofi Kingston versus Joe Gacy. Kofi Kingston wins. Trouble in Paradise. Schism got involved. Xavier took out Schism. Blah, blah, blah. It was great having Booker T on commentary, being a full-fledged heel. That was fucking awesome. Forgot to mention that Booker T is now a full-time commentator for NXT. It's great. So I love it. I fucking love it. So, Drew Gulak, he's backstage with Hank Walker. He's not happy with Chase U. So Walker tries to calm him down. He says a win's a win. Dempsey, he interrupts and asks Gulak, what about the arm injury? And then Dempsey says, injured or not, he's taking it to Walker next week. Gulak is fired up. He tells Dempsey to rest up because Walker's going to rip his arm off next week. And Gulak storms off, and Hank Walker, he follows, but he's a bit confused. So I'm fine with this. Like I said before, I'm hoping it all leads to a turn where we see Gulak and Dempsey aligning themselves as a tag team and kind of beating the shit out of Hank Walker. And I do think that would be tremendous and great. So I'm all for it. Now, how we close the show, that was the Grayson Waller effect. So, basically, the gist of it was Waller, he's belittling Bron the whole time, trying to get him to act like the Hulk and everything else. Bron's like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. So, Grayson, he continues to interrupt them, saying how good he is, saying, that he wants to basically be like his hero, Goldberg, that being Bron Breakker. And then, basically, Bron says that Waller, he's smart and crafty. And they continue to jog back and forth. So, in the end, Grayson, he tries to... the one thing, he belittles Bron by saying the only thing that he's done is that's still his dad's gimmick. And so Bron, he turns around, gets in Waller's face. They face off. Bron laughs. Bron grabs Grayson's arm, raises the mic, and says he doesn't give a damn about what Waller says because he loves his father. And says, Bron says he'll see Waller next week. So then Grayson continues to talk more trash, but Breakker hits him out with a right hand. He does the power slam, and then he, for whatever reason, I have no idea why, but I popped kind of hard with it. He does like a big dive to take Waller down. So that was pretty cool. And he stands tall with the NXT championship, and we go off the air, takes his shirt off and everything. So that was pretty cool. But it could have been done better. I like both Bron and Grayson Waller. But we all know that Bron is going to win next week. So my question is, do we continue this feud after next week? And I would say yes, because are we going to put Carmelo Hayes on? Are we going to do a feud with Carmelo Hayes around WrestleMania season? And I think that's what they should do. We should continue the feud with Waller up until Vengeance Day. To me, that makes the most sense, and it would be a lot better, I would say. But it is what it is. Overall, this was a good, fun, solid show. Oh, I forgot to mention, we saw the New Year's Evil vignette teasing Tiffany Stratton, so that's cool. So we will see her next week. I cannot wait. I have missed Tiffany Stratton, and I do believe that in 2020, I do believe that this year she will be champion. I do. I think she'll be champion this year, possibly. But I think what they might do, they might go with Cora Jade. But then again, if we go with Cora Jade, I don't want her to become champion until around maybe Halloween Havoc. I know that's a long time away, but Roxanne Perez just won the championship about 3 weeks ago. There's no point in having her drop it even at Stand and Deliver. I'm predicting that either Cora Jade or Tiffany Stratton will be NXT Women's Champion by Halloween Havoc. That's just my prediction. Overall, this show was fun. I enjoyed it. Very solid stuff. I'm super excited for next week, for New Year's Evil next week. I think that's going to kick major ass. This was a fun show. So now, thank you guys for watching. Please hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe for more videos. I'll catch you guys later. Peace. A very good, solid show. Next week should be no different.